You are,
Unbelievable.
yeah. I think that's the.
Good morning, Brad.
You know, there's an experimenter thought process you can do that you can take a look at your life and figure out what's a net add and what's a net negative. I'm not really sure
Uh,
where you're falling today, Mister Threat.
I would imagine for me, it's like indiscriminate bombing during World War II. Sometimes it's right on target, and sometimes you're like, "What the hell was he thinking?"
Yep. Yep. So here we are back to First Ring Daily doing the thing or
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it is that we
Whatever
do
that
for
might
some.
be.
You know, life just goes on, and I continue why I'm still existing. But here we are. It's
Well, this will overjoy you. Yesterday, you mentioned that you thought Wednesday was Thursday,
mhm.
and I heard you say that. We interacted about it. I understand that feeling. And then I kind of went on with my day. And then in the middle of the afternoon, my wife asked me if we could do something tomorrow night, meaning Thursday night. That was kind of like a weird thing to ask for, like a non, like for what I at that time thought was a Friday night, because that's usually
Yeah.
the one night like we kind of go out. And I was like, okay. And then, like an hour went by and I was watching something on TV. I don't know. And all of a sudden I was like, God damn it. And Stephanie goes, "You just figured out today isn't Thursday, didn't you?" And I was
Mhm.
like, yes. And she's like, "I wondered why you were okay with this, because Friday's usually when we go out, not when we do like housework stuff. I was like, it's worse
Yep.
than you think, because Brad was just talking about this.
Yeah. And Brad thought it was Thursday multiple times that day. He was preparing for multiple things that are occurring on Friday, and yep, here we are.
I need every week to be a 4-day work week. How do we arrange that?
Well,
I
I got
just,
good news about next week,
yeah, right, right.
which for people who aren't in the United States, Monday is a holiday here, and I'm
Hmm.
not going to be talking to Paul on Monday, and so
Yeah, maybe I'll taunt you via texting or something.
blocking is a wonderful feature. And speaking of wonderful features, here's an interesting one that came across. So somebody uncovered this.
Hmm.
Google is working on a new credential manager for Windows 10.
Yeah.
And essentially, what this will allow you to do is if you're a G Suite user, I don't think it's going to work with consumer accounts. It would allow you to log into Windows using your G Suite credentials rather than having to use a Microsoft account or an Active Directory account.
Yeah. I'm curious about this. The problem, of course, is a lot of people have these Microsoft accounts that
Mm-hmm.
they've been pulling along for many years. My primary Microsoft account, essentially my only one really these days, is a Hotmail account that I want to say dates back to 2000 or 2001. It's pretty old. I have a G Suite account. In fact, Throughout.com is a G Suite account. And so it's kind of appealing to me to sign in with that. I use Throughout.com for, password sync and whatever. Except everything I do on the Microsoft side is through my Microsoft account. So
Mm-hmm.
all my Xbox Live stuff, all the purchases of what I've made across whatever, everything's there. Office 365, the subscription goes out for a couple of years now. Microsoft has never come through with the promised merge Microsoft accounts feature.
Mm-hmm.
And also, to complicate matters even further, the email address I use at Throughout.com is already a Microsoft account. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I welcome this feature. I think this is great. They already offer multiple ways to sign into Windows. Azure, Azure Active Directory or normal
Mm-hmm.
Active Directory, whatever. Um, hmm,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious. I'm curious if there's going to be more around that.
Yep. Well, somebody on Twitter I was having a conversation with saying this is not a smart idea. I'm like, why would Google do this? Like the usual kind of just this doesn't make any sense. What does make sense is that there's also that rumored what is it called, Fire Camp or Firebase or whatever the heck it's called for on Chromebooks that allows you to install Windows 10.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think that's where this starts to kind of make sense.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I can imagine lots of people would like to have one major online account, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you can today, if you had like Thurrott at gmail.com, you could go to hotmail.com or whatever, outlook.com, whatever it is, sign up for a Microsoft account. Say you want to use an existing account, use that account. Now you won't get the email services through Outlook.com, but you can already today use any arbitrary email address as a Microsoft account. But this is not what we're talking about, right? You're authenticating against a completely different system. It's interesting. I'm just curious. I don't know if that gives it the benefits of a Microsoft account. It probably doesn't.
Yeah, I would think you'd lose some of that syncing functionality and everything else.
Unless you turned it into a Microsoft account, right? So
Right.
if you imagine our company like bwwmedia.com was on Azure Active Directory right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like Paul at whatever, bwwmedia.com. I could go to Outlook.com and say, I want a new Microsoft account using this address. I wouldn't get email,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then there are complexities to this, especially if you stay in the Microsoft ecosystem. Because if you go to office.com or any of the Microsoft sites really, and you sign in, it's going to ask you, is this a personal account or a work or school account? And it's actually both. So depending on what you want to do, like if you bought Office 365 Home, that would be associated with the Microsoft account, right? Not your Azure Active Directory account. I mean, so I don't, it raises a lot of questions. I'm curious about this.
Yeah. But on the Google theme, by the way, Google is now selling a two-factor authentication security key.
Yeah, that's about all you need to say about that. I know there are security-minded people who will probably think that this is what they need, and I would just say to most people listening to this is not what you need. If you have a phone of any kind, and you do, that makes a wonderful two-factor authentication device. Set it up securely, right? You should have to log in with your fingerprint, ideally, Face ID on an iPhone, and then do the authentication, whatever it is. Microsoft and Google do it a little bit differently, but that works great, and it's super secure, and it kind of conforms roughly to that something I know plus something I have philosophy of 2FA. So I think that works good. I would just use that.
And unless you really desperately think you're under attack, because the weakest link in the two-factor using your phone is actually your phone carrier, because they've proven to be dumb at giving out your information. But yeah.
Right, for sure. It works across Google's kind of corporate accounts, and it works. Google has special Gmail accounts for people who are could be under attack, right? Celebrities, people in government, and so forth, and it works with that. So yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're in a special case situation, I don't think I have any worries along those lines, and I don't think anyone listening to this does either.
I would agree. And then Google. Geez, that's terrible. I mean, it's just on top of the mind. Microsoft is also announcing some updates to Office, if you will, making quality of life just a little bit better, but nothing too crazy.
Right. So actually, there's a number of things. As I wrote this, I sort of wrote it like, well, there's two new things coming to Office 365. This is what you're referring to, right? The family, the Office 365 Home and Personal and stuff. Yep. There's actually four new things, depending on how you look at it. So, and some of them only apply to Home. On both device accounts, on both Office 365 accounts, they're raising the device limits from whatever they were before, because they were different across the personal.
10. Well, 10 for Home, I think.
Yeah, it was like 10 for Home overall with up to 5 users. So it's like it's sort of like 2 per user, but if someone had 1, someone else could have 3, that kind of thing. If you were on Office 365 Personal, I believe it was 1 PC for Office 2016 today and 1 tablet. Now it's unlimited. So you can't use all of those at the same time, right? I mean, the user limits still apply, but you can, in fact, install it across an unlimited number of devices, which is really cool. The second one is that Office 365 is going from 5 users to 6. That seems kind of arbitrary, and it is. 6 is a bigger number than 5, so who's complaining? The price isn't going up. But what it does is it maps it to Microsoft Family, which is another one of the new things that's coming. That is, I don't know if it's already come, but it's coming, which is that if you configure Microsoft Family through your Microsoft account, you add all your family's accounts into this, they will automatically be applied to Office 365 Home if you subscribe to it, right? So before you had to individually invite each person, that's what I've done. Now you won't have to do that. That's cool. And I think that explains the 6 thing, because actually Microsoft Family had a 6 user limit before for certain sharing features, and this kind of conforms to that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the final change, and this one does apply to both of those Office 365 subscription types, is that you'll manage the subscription. And actually, this is live today. You can go see this now. If you go to the Microsoft account website, you'll see a tab called Subscriptions and Services. And if you select your Office 365 Home subscription in the list, you'll get an interface for managing the users and the devices. So I went and looked at this today. So I have, 3 people, 3 other than me on this, my family, in other words. And then I have the devices that I've personally configured, which is more than 10, because, I review devices and I often install Office 365. But you used to have to do that through the Office website. I haven't gone to office.com to see if that's, if it's still there, but I always found it very convoluted to find. And there was a weird difference between office365.com, and which is really for the kind of business versions, the commercial versions, and then office.com, which is actually for the consumer versions. And not really, but as far as managing the subscriptions goes. Anyway, now you do it through your Microsoft account site, and I think that makes plenty of sense.
I agree. The only thing they didn't include in this update, which is really frustrating still, is you can't buy more than 1 terabyte of storage.
Right. And Google announced and has subsequently released this Google One subscription. My expectation is Microsoft will have to do something like this. I mean, they'll have to. The ability to arbitrarily add storage is exactly what people are looking for. And I'm looking forward to that.
And then I did find this guy yesterday.
Yep.
Put it in, worked just fine.
Yep.
And I also found this guy.
Oh, look at that.
48 hours free. I did not use it. I wonder if this code still works.
Somebody sent me an old code. Let me see if I have it on my desktop still. It's a Microsoft gift card, and it's got to be over 10 years old, and it does not conform to anything that you can redeem today. But he's like, look, I think it's $5. I'll never use it. If you want it, you can have it. And I've tried and it doesn't work. But that one, does it have a code on it?
Yeah, it does. I haven't even peeled it back yet.
How many numbers are in the code?
Let me see.
6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 in this one. So it should be 24, 25.
1, 2, 3.
And if it is
5, so 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe 25.
Yeah, that will work. Then that will work. 25-digit code should work. The one I have is actually a 16-digit code that's really out of date. But yeah, 25. That should work.
I also found this in the.
That looks like an. Oh no, what is that? Oh, a Netflix.
Apparently, my wife and we got Slumdog Millionaire on Blu-ray in approximately 2008, and I sent it back without the wrapper. Clearly,
oh, because you lost it. Okay, hopefully you sent it back. I just discovered I have a $7,400 late charge with Netflix.
Solid.
I didn't return a DVD like 10 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, the backwards compatibility worked great, and I got to tell you, I think I prefer PUBG. So.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the game is it's kind of out of date, right? So Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare in particular, was really out of date because in multiplayer, you couldn't choose kill streaks. There were 3 streaks. Yep. That's what you got. There was no choosing them. I didn't really look to configure. I believe in 2 is when they added the ability to choose which streaks you wanted. But for me, what makes this thing cool is the maps. Like I said yesterday, when you go across all the Call of Duty games, every one of them has some classic maps. But it seems to me, and maybe I'm just misremembering this, but I feel like the Modern Warfare games are stacked in this regard. Like those multiplayer maps are just classics. They're just classics. Great. Yeah.
It's not that it's a bad game. It's just that I've been playing PUBG so much, and PUBG is the only thing these 2 games have in common are that they're first-person shooters, and that's really about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, graphically, they're night and day.
Yep. Well, I will tell you, when I started playing this, it's like, wow, it is nice to play a game that gets better than 25 frames per second. That was That was a nice little.
To me, the controls feel a little off too, because
They
I'm
do.
used to the more modern games. So it's kind of a weird looseness to them.
Hmm.
It's kind of hard to explain. But I've gone back. I played the Modern Warfare, the first one, the remastered version, again and again, and I don't find that hard. I don't. Maybe that's one of the things they improved.
Yeah. I will
I
say
still hope they do
the
this.
one nice little delight, if you will, is that when I logged in, it still had all my prestige and all that stuff.
Oh
It still
yeah,
had all
yeah,
my
yeah.
game classes still set up.
Yep.
So it's just,
Yep.
it was
Yep.
nice.
It's like, oh, the ACR. I remember
Yeah.
that gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you got anything else for today, Mr. Thrat?
Uh, no, not really. I mean, there's some IFA related news coming later today. Just on par with what we've seen, so far. I think that's the big thing for today. You?
I'm going to cut my grass this afternoon, I think. I'm going to do some writing.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that's about it.
Alrighty.
Cool. All right, folks, so that wraps it up today. We'll catch you back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find that at thrat.com/live. And yeah, that's all we got. Catch you later.